Hello, everybody. Welcome. Welcome, everybody. My name is Carolina. If this is your first time here, drop in a message here in the comments if you're watching, because I can't tell from where I'm at on this screen here. Looks like there might be one or two. So I'm going to wait a few minutes for folks to join, and I'm going to figure out my technology here because I'd like to share some things with you all. All right. Welcome, folks. Thank you for being here. I want to check in on my messages here. Let's make sure I haven't missed anyone. All right. Hey, friends. Thank you for being here. Just starting, waiting for folks to join. And while we're waiting, I'm just getting my materials prepared on my side. I'm going to be sharing some of charts and also giving you some tips. Hi, how you doing? Thank you for joining. Is this your first time with me? I don't recognize the handle, so I don't know who's that. So say hi. Let me know who you are. So I'm calling in all of those creatures who want to learn about money transits. And while you're here listening, let me know where you're at in your astrological story and path. Do you know your chart? Are you just starting to get to know your chart? Do you feel like you're an expert? How comfortable are you with your chart? I'll start with that. Hello. Just opening this window. Hi, Susanna. How you doing? Yeah, so today I'm talking about money transits. So learning about our whole world of income and our astrological charts. So you're intermediate. Okay. All right. So let me know, have you ever done any intentional work to time transits and things like that? Portugal, welcome. Oh, beautiful. I'm so happy to hear that. This is so cool. I love where people show up from all over the world. Okay. So let's see. All right, we're about almost 5 minutes in, and I'm going to just start and hope that others join. And if others don't join, then guess what? You get like a more private session from with me, and that's cool too. All right. So when it comes to astrology and income, we're talking about um you learned about how okay, so we have Susanna here who's sharing how you learned about the second, the sixth, and the 10th houses are in the same element, and yours are in water. Okay, cool. And so you also learned that when you notice the other houses, right, that there's a pattern within them as well. In whole sign houses, which is how I teach people, we always notice that there's always one element, therefore one sign that occupies one house. All right, does that make sense? Because this is a critical piece, and you just unlocked a part that I'm basically going to be just talking about today. And I love this. I love how this has worked out. So thank you. I see there's more people who have joined. Let me know in the chat, like, where are you in your astrological n- uh, knowledge and path? Like, are you in the very beginning of discovering what your astrology chart is about? Are you more intermediate and you're now looking at how to turn things on or work intentionally with your chart? Or are you more like expert and you're like, Carolina, I know all of my placements, I know my aspects, I know how they manifest in my life, and I would like to learn even more and more and more and more. So, one, two, three, let me know in the chat. And yes, you do have to subscribe to the channel in order to leave me comments. It helps me to know you a little bit better than just like some randos out there. Okay. All right. So, what are we talking about today specifically? You have, all right. Susanna is a Libra first house stellium. That means you have a lot of things going on there. And I have a moon in Libra. So, welcome, Libra individual. I love Libra energy. I understand it very well. So, money transits. In astrology, there are several components that speak to money and income. So, first, understand that. And what we want to do when it comes to activation, meaning we want to intentionally step into doing a task, doing a ritual over a period of time. Say that you consistently do an. I did, for example, with this right here, this mala that I created. I intentionally did a mantra every single day for 2.5 years. That was astrologically timed. I started it during specific time and I devoted it to a specific area within my chart. So you don't have to be that hardcore, but that just gives you an idea that when it comes to activation, we don't just like have this dream and then hope that things just go well. No, we want to intentionally work with with this energy because these are opportunities that we can ride the cosmic wave of what they can bring about for us. Also, understanding that at the end of the day, your chart will basically dictate how these things manifest because guess what? You are in your body and you are who you are. And that's why astrology can really help us to unlock and um, destruct things that don't help us. Okay, both bring about the gifts as well as really remove the veil of the things that just keep us locked in. And I'll share a personal story. And this is one that has come up really loudly for me over now a couple years almost that I've had the Quest Mystic overall brand of my business. Okay. I have certain placements in my chart that speak to guarding myself and out of fear. out of fear of rejection, out of feel of being called out. These are like really subconscious that manifest themselves in action and how I decide and choose things in life. And that for me is my 12th house activity with Mars sitting there, who rules my second house, which is what we're going to talk about today, as well as some other things. And so when we start to get to know ourselves, we first need to understand, where are the signs in the chart? And remember, if you're following the work that I do here, I only teach whole sign houses. If your chart is Placidus, I can't really like help you. It's a language and a realm that I'm like, my brain is wired right now to see one element per sign, and therefore whatever your rising sign is will determine the rest of your houses. The rising sign is the first house, and whatever sign after the first sign is your second house sign. And the ruler, meaning the planet within a traditional Hellenistic astrological perspective, because that's how rulership was initially created, with the 7 planets. So Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto are really a secondary level of interpretation in my world. Doesn't mean that we ignore them. It just means it's not a primary thing to look at. Why? Because almost all of what we know about astrology of the 7 planets is from an old historical teaching and gathering of data. So when you look at rulership, say you have Aquarius in your second house, which has 2 rulers, then first you look at Saturn and then you understand Uranus. Okay. Okay, so as we get into this piece of cosmic timing and cycles, we first need to understand, what are the money indicators? Oh, that was the first time? Yeah, it really is very different experience when you understand a chart through whole sign versus Placidus versus whatever. There are many house systems, okay? None of them are wrong, and they're all right. It's just a matter of how you interpret and see things. Just like think of it as like, this is an object and there's a kaleidoscope and there's different angles of coming at that understanding. And that's why Western astrology can also vibe with Vedic astrology for you, or Mayan astrology. So all these systems are really just a different way of understanding this form and how we navigate the world. So the the timing, or first let me talk about the parts within the chart that speak to income. The first one is the second house. It's not the only thing. Okay. The second house, meaning you will need to first look at, like, where's all the houses? You have 12 houses, and there's one sign per house, and there's one element that is represented within that sign. So if your second house is water, then other parts of your chart are in, if you count from the second, 4 signs is another water sign. And then 4 signs from that is another water sign. So everything has a relationship. This is what we're talking about. We're talking about geometry here. If you take the third sign and then do another 4 signs and then so on and so forth, you'll see there's also the same element being represented. And so these placements of these elements speak to geometric relationships, such as angles. The lines that you're seeing in your chart are based on calculations. like 180 degrees. That would be an opposition. A conjunction would be 0 degrees because there's nothing separating the two objects. And that's when we get into the conversation of orbs, right? But we're not going to go there today. We're really just looking at the chart. Look at your chart. Do you know what your water houses are? Write them down. My water houses are this. My air houses are this. My earth houses are this. My fire houses are this. If you look at it from that angle, then you'll start to see that there is a pattern that's getting repeated here. And so the second house is the piece that speaks to your talents, your skills, how you value and what you value in your life. And the things that sit within it, whatever planets, points, talk about the condition of that house. And if there's nothing there, that doesn't mean there's no income. That's cray-cray. It just means that the ruler of that house, this is why rulership work needs to be looked at. It means the ruler of that house and that where it sits in the chart says a lot about how this area is operated. If you want to learn more about all of this unlocking of the second house, I have a special course devoted to it called Earn by Design, and you can go into it much deeper. But just what we're speaking about today, we're going to talk about the elements because this will make sense as you talk about the activation piece, the transits. Learn the elements, people. Learn what each sign is and what is occupied within each element. It's like step one. You'll do yourself a huge favor by learning that piece. Then, when we know what's in the second house and we understand that this is the place from which I take my capabilities and create a rhythm for which and a cosmic blueprint that generates the things that I then, of course, exchange for money or that you may inherit, that you may have like the conditions. Maybe perhaps this has come to you from family, from inheritance. That would then be the eighth house. The eighth house is other people's resources. And so the condition of the eighth house, meaning the planets, the ruler, tells you the story of what's happening in there. So now you have 2 points. What is the relationship between the second and the eighth? Does anybody know? Think about it for a minute. I want you to look at the chart. Let me pull up this thing that I have here for you all. I want to share. Okay, this is my first time sharing on YouTube, so it worked. Okay, this is my chart. This is Luna software. I wish they had an affiliate program, but they don't. So boo. Anyways, it's a monthly subscription. And a yearly subscription. It's very affordable. However, use it with a goal in mind. But if you're looking at this and this is too complicated, don't spend that money yet. Okay, there's better use of that cashola for you. Okay, so down here is a sign, and see if I could zoom. Oh, I can. Is it allowing me to zoom in? No, it kind of looks like it got smaller. Yeah. Okay. So at the bottom, there we go. Bottom right left, there's a sign, and that is Aries. You also see that there's a 2 right here. This means that the second house 2 is in Aries. And so at the opposite side of 2, boom, is 8. What is the opposite sign of Aries? Libra. All opposites are basically opposite signs. And if once you learn the elements, right, you're also learning the modalities and the basics of the zodiac. The zodiac can be understood in multiple layers. First, elements. Then you could do modalities and opposition. Then planetary, who rules who. So the opposition is essentially two opposite elements, but they have something in common, which is the modality. So this is fire and this is air. So write that down for yourself, friend. What is the element and the modality of your second house? And the same for your eighth. These two things work together. All the houses have a relationship to each other. The one works with the seventh. This is you. The seventh is other people. The third is your neighborhood. The ninth would be like foreign places you've never been to. Of course, this is the most simplified of looking at the houses, okay? There's many other keywords and meanings behind them. But the second and the eighth, second, you, your money, eighth, somebody else's stuff. Yeah, so water versus earth. Exactly. So is it mutable water, fixed earth? Who rules those places? That's when you get into the next space. Now, what are other places we can look at for income? Venus is the core one that everybody speaks about. This is a planetary signature that is individual to you. Some people get confused sometimes when they look at the houses and they think that the second is always ruled by Taurus and Venus. And that's not true. There's no connection between the second and Venus. Those are it's people have taken the meaning and then extrapolated and been like, oh, therefore the second is always Venusian and always, it's always this or that. No. Your Venus placement tells about your how you magnetize things to you, how you go and what you love. Like, what do you love to do? And that translates into money because Venus does rule money. Also values, also relationships, also beauty. And Venus has two signs that it rules: Taurus and Libra. One of them is a feminine energy, and the other one is masculine. Taurus is feminine, Libra is masculine. And so when you get into just the very basics, friends, that's all I want you to focus on is just the element. What is the element? What is the modality? Because that helps you to understand how you're doing these things in these places in your life. And the planetary ruler of that space helps you to understand the speed of which, the pace of which things happen. Venus, if you go through the planets and write down how fast does each planet go through each sign or through the wheel, the zodiac wheel. The fastest one is the moon. It's why we have the full moon, the new moon, because it's the dance that happens between the sun and the moon. And then we have Mercury, Sun, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. Those are that speed. We're talking days to 250 plus years for something to move through the whole zodiac. So now We have these two places, these two houses, we have a planet, but guess what? There's other pieces in your chart can also help with this thing called abundance. And that would be my awesome, awesome friend Jupiter. Hello, Jupiter. Everybody, throw your hands up. You're like, everybody loves Jupiter. I love Jupiter. Who doesn't love Jupiter? Jupiter brings about opportunities and growth, faith in self, faith in life, gratitude. And Jupiter is this energy of whatever it touches, it makes bigger. Okay? Bigger. Now, think of it as a balloon where you're blowing air into it. And you're having fun, right? You're like, yeah, this is fun. I'm making something here. It's getting bigger and 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 bigger. But there's a point of break. That's Jupiter, where it's like, you gotta be cautious. In a personality, you could see somebody who's like really loudmouth and puts their foot in their mouth because they'll just like just blunt Sagittarius, like doesn't give a fuck. It's just gonna tell you, and then oops, sorry, I didn't mean that. That's a Sagittarian nature who's ruled by Jupiter. So your Jupiter story tells you a lot about how things play out in the realm of opportunity and growth and expansion for you. And the house placement, the house and the sign, the element is that story. Okay. The next one is the opposite energy of Jupiter, which is Saturn. Saturn is the person who's like making sure that everything is in order. They're like they have a plan and a vision, and every day they're like, right, yep, I got to do that, yep. And they've got it, and it's like this checklist, and they're gonna check it every day. Like, yes, I've accomplished this. Now I'm gonna like it's amazing. Saturnian discipline, work, hard work. Um, at times so like daunting that it can be hard because Saturn is not a joyous energy. It's serious, stern. It's the law. Saturn's color is black. Everything you see in the world that rules law, the judge's robe is black. That's Saturn. Jupiter's colors are gold and like lapis lazuli, regal. But you need both energies in your life. Wherever Saturn sits in your chart, this is the place where you are meant to do the harder work. And depending on the sign, its condition, meaning the aspects, so on and so forth, this could be really like easy for you, or it could be a real struggle where you're your worst enemy. Saturn and Jupiter in second house, Saturn conjunct Mars in Libra. Yeah, that's like Saturn conjunct Mars would be like having your foot in like go go go, and then another foot, and then the break at the same time. But it can manifest healthily once you understand, especially in Libra because Saturn is exalted in Libra. It's the sign of balance. So hopefully, you learn how to balance that over time and really create a lot of um, structure in your life based on the passions you have. Messy. So those um, three things, planets, those two houses, speak to that. And then your next question will likely be like, well, Carolina, what if those planets don't sit in the second or eighth? I say, well, my friend, We're not everybody's so lucky, and then you have to ask those who do have those planets in those houses and ask them how that's gone for them, because we always seem to want to have something that's on the other side. The grass is always greener, and I'm telling you that's not always true, not always true. So this is my chart on the inner wheel. This is the outside of where the planets are in the sky at this time. Okay? When it comes to mapping, the best thing that you could help yourself with tracking all of this is knowing the elements, because that is a cheat sheet code. If you know your planets are in certain places and your houses are in certain places, like you've memorized it or you have it written down, please. Write it down over and over and over and over and over. Recreate your chart so many times that you can see the patterns that are there. Maybe you don't know what it means, but you could at least know what the symbols mean and what elements are in each house. Okay? Because then when I say to you that right now Venus is in Libra, you should be able to tell me when you get there what house that is for you. For me, that's the 8th house. 2nd, 8th, Libra. And Libra currently is at 20 degrees of Libra. It has passed my moon. This is my moon. This is Uranus. I have both conjunct in Libra. Painful placement if you also have moon Uranus conjunction. And if you notice here, I have nothing in 2nd, but that's not true. That's where my Chiron is. And there's a different relationship that happens here in my chart that's not currently mapped, but that's okay. And so when you want to map your transits to activate, what is activation? This is now you doing the things that these houses and planets call us to do. Venus, relationships, in navigating right now the 8th house of other people's resources. Well, friends, I am here talking to you, Venus, socializing, activating my Venus. I am a Venus in Gemini. I love to talk. I love to share little bits of information for other people. I have a home in my business in my home, Venus in the 4th, right there. Boom. And I'm talking to you. Yes, I'm sharing knowledge with you, but I'm also sharing about my business. Why not? Right? And by the way, there are links within the description for my I have two memberships, soon to be completely live. One of them is the Unveiled Path Circle for personal growth. And then there's a separate membership being launched called the Cosmic Clarity Lab for those who want to bring this into their business. And there's freebies there too. So do grab those. So now that you know, like, okay, what's my 2nd? What's my 8th? Where's my Venus? Where's my Jupiter? Where's my blah, 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 right? There are different levels of decoding, and that's why you need to begin with the very basic layer, which is what are the elements and the houses, so that I know when there's a planet that comes in. This is called an ingress, when a planet enters a sign, so that I know when this planet comes in, I can plan ahead of time. So what you would want, for example, Venus entering your 2nd house or your 8th house. You would want to know when that happens, because now you have at least 2 weeks of time devoted to that house activity of having the Venusian energy come in of magnetism. This is a time, if you have a business, to increase your prices, to evaluate that part, if it's the 2nd, because again, the 2nd is your stuff. Whereas if Venus is navigating your eighth house, you're now talking about, hello, I'm here to pitch something for you. I'm here to offer you something. Do you understand the differences between the second and the eighth? Hi, Samantha from Pittsburgh. I had a glitch with assessing the chart after subscribing. I'm very much a beginner. Scorpio Sun, Aquarius Moon, Pisces Rising. Samantha, definitely connect with me because will soon be launching free chart generation for individuals, and I'd be happy to help you with that. Um, Sometimes the softwares out there can be a little bit wonky, but I can help you with that. So, are there rituals? Of course. So, this is where the new moon cycles are fun to play with, right? Because remember, what did I say before? The moon does the transit how often? Every 28 to 30 days, it's going through your chart and it's going through this areas, boom, once, twice, three, 12 times. 1 month, the second month, the third month, but there isn't a new moon in the same house each time. That gets changed over the year, but each house will experience it, meaning your new moon in your second and your eighth house, that's a once per year event, as well as a full moon. So new moon is when you would initiate something. Full and the new moon, that is, and then full moon would be when you want to show it, right? When you want to really have that light of the moon shining upon that house. If you're in my email list or if you follow me in my blog, there's a freebie out there for the 2026 lunation cycle. So we'll give you all the dates of when there's a new moon, full moon, as well as first quarter and last quarter. And then what was I going to say about that? Yeah, so rituals wise are specific to the element of that house or the ruler of that house. So my second house is fire. So burning things, courageous action, initiation, fire. My ruler of that beautiful placement, Mars, is in Aquarius in the 12th, the hidden spot. This is the spiritual realm. This is why, for me, having an astrological guidance business essentially is perfect. But I want you to understand that all of your chart speaks to many possibilities. Prior to me having Quest Mystic, I worked for top, Fortune 100 companies in the tech world, agencies, helping them with the internet. What does that have to do with a 12th house, Mars and Aries, second house? Well, Aquarius is about the future. And I worked behind the scenes, 12th house. So don't ever think that whatever you're doing right now is the only thing you can do. That's BS. That's not true. So there is a calendar, right? This is a calendar that I'm showing you. This is essentially an astrological transit chart of knowing where the planets are. But there's other ways of seeing this data, and that would be through an ephemeris, and that's essentially a timeline. Kind of like the train. timeline and timetable. Has anybody taken a train recently? I'd love to know if you've done that recently because I'm going to show you. There's no real way for me to make this chart any or picture really any bigger, but this is essentially the 2026 starting in November going through the end. And it shows for every day what the ingress is or major planetary event is happening, such as a retrograde or the planet going forward. And it tells me the date and the position. This is the timetable that I'm speaking about. Okay, this is another way of reading that chart. Those that are annual members for the Cosmic Clarity Lab, as well as the Unveiled Path Circle, will be getting something similar to this in their membership, but it's going to be through a Google Calendar, as well as Google Sheets, who are planners who want to then dive into a specific transit, such as an activation of the second house or the eighth house or Venus. Okay. So going back to this chart here, this is just my natal chart. This is not the transits. So knowing where the planets are, then you know when things will get activated. This is where planning comes into play. Okay. And each of the houses through the elements, through the planets that are ruling it, will influence the creation of whatever ritual and activity that you want to move forward with. The eighth is, for example, other people's things. So perhaps if you are in the space where you have a business, for example, or even if you are working in a space where you have the opportunity to apply for a grant, other people's monies, mortgage, financing from other people, that's the eighth. And then we talked about Venus, doing Venusian things whenever Venus is activated. Jupiter would be, following up on opportunities that you are being handed or that you're seeing in front of you. Saturn would tell you, get your house in order and do the hard, disciplined work. The activations, that could be a lunation, that could be a new moon phase, a full moon phase, whether that's through the house or the actual planet that rules those houses or the three planets that I spoke about. So we're at 43 minutes, and I want to leave time for questions. And yeah, we're getting into a beautiful time right now in astrology. We have Mercury in Sagittarius. We are about to hit the actual retrograde. We're in the phase of where of where Mercury is going to go back. It's going to retrace steps that it's already covered, and that started in Scorpio. And we have a lot of beautiful like water energy at play right now with Neptune starting to go backwards, Saturn's in Pisces, it's going to go forward at some point, and we have Jupiter in Cancer. So there's a lot of emotional, psychic, intuition, artistry, energy in the air that we can take a part of. And you learning astrology is very water natured, certainly scorpionic and eighth house oriented, as well as Aquarius. So hit me with some questions. Yeah, we all it's funny. We all worry about about the 7th house and forget the rest. It's so true. Everybody is constantly obsessed with their 7th house because they're like, "Am I gonna get married? What's gonna happen with my life?" And, like, d you unle if you have a high concentration of 7th house planets, then yes, by all means, learn about your 7th house. Learn about the 7th house ruler. But beyond that, focus about what's happening with the rest of your chart because it will tell a lot about how you live life. All right. So, someone asked earlier, yes, here. Do I use Black Moon Lilith as integration with Venus? I do not follow Black Moon Lilith. Um, You're supposed to be you wanna be live. Oh, not yet. I don't wanna end that. I wanna end the right, there we go. Ah, I don't follow Black Moon Lilith because it's, not something that I was taught, and I went to the Portland School of Astrology, and I had 3 primary teachers, all 3 knew traditional astrology and had been taught in that as well, some focused more than others, um and when you're learning astrology, you're going to need to focus on what you want to really study. And so I haven't been called to that. Um, if anything, I look at Chiron and I also look at some of the asteroid goddesses like Juno and sometimes Ceres and Vesta and Pallas Athene. Yeah, there's so much. I mean, there's 10 planets. And the North Node and the South Node and Chiron, I feel like if I have time later in life, for sure. Alright, don't be shy, folks. Just ask questions. No question is a wrong question, especially when you are just starting in your astrological journey. Um, when we learn astrology, we're learning about ourselves. We start to really see a lot of synchronicities in our lives. Then you realize that you can become a magician, right? Because there's a craft at learning how to balance oneself. There's a craft about timing things for oneself. There's a beautiful lesson in going back in time to see how things have played out for us and what we could learn in the future. Um, yeah, and you can also just use astrology to understand the trends, the potential trends that are to come. And we're certainly in that time right now. We're in a very fascinating time where I shared the transits, but I didn't share the like global transit chart. Let me see if it does that here. Does that do that? 10/30/2025. Oh, 30. Sorry, guys. I'm trying to see if I can generate this for us. Just testing out the software. Perfect. Okay. So this is the chart of now, and the things that I tend to focus on overall is the movement of the outer planets. Even though I said I come from a traditional aspect, Um, and even and I would actually consider Jupiter and Saturn in there as well. And the reason being is because these planets move so slowly. And so their impact in our charts are felt for a longer period of time. The moon is fleeting. It changes signs every 2.5 days. So that's why, those who have water or Cancer, like myself, Cancer Sun, ruled by the moon, we fluctuate our moons, our emotions a lot. We're way more fluid. So that's the moon stuff. But things like Pluto, we're talking right now for Aquarius where it sits. Where's Aquarius right there? It's at 1 degree Aquarius, Pluto. This is 20 years in one sign. It doesn't spend 20 years in every sign. Its cycle is not consistent. And so it's going to spend 20 long years. Whoever has Aquarius stuff, like your first house, placements, the second house, like this is a long excavation that's happening with Aquarius. And that's why you would want to know where planets sit, just even at a house level. Don't worry about the aspects. That's like so much more interpretation that needs to happen when you can just look at, like, huh, Pluto is going through my house, say, for example, my house of income, my values, my resources, my skills. Pluto is about transformation, deep, low, soul level excavation. It's buffing the raw stone to become nice and shiny through pressure. It's like deep psychological layers. And it's a power dynamic excavation as well, whether that's like, maybe you get really like emboldened to go after your values. And now it's like a really strong time to focus on the resources that you're developing because you have that power level intensity of Pluto. If you have Capricorn in your second house, you felt that before Pluto moved into Aquarius, and that was there for quite some time from 2008 until, like, 2023, 2024, when things started to shift. And then you have Uranus. Uranus is good old and sitting right now at 0 degrees retrograde in Gemini. It had just done an 8-year transit through Taurus. 8 years. 8 years of disruption. Now it's going to do that to Gemini. So wherever Gemini is for you, that's a big change. Uranus doesn't just do things like calmly. And then Neptune. Neptune is retrograde and then will go into Aries. Eventually will stop its retrograde motion, return, go through the same degrees it's already covered, and then continue to go forward. And same with Saturn, and then Jupiter is in Cancer. And Jupiter's transit, as I mentioned, is only 1 year. And the great benefic is what is called by the ancients. The great benefic versus the lesser benefic, Venus. And so wherever Jupiter transits in your houses, that's like where you go and you go big. And you look to those outer planets that are doing their long journeys to see where long things are going to be a story for you. And if it's in the second and the eighth house, then pay attention. Yeah, Moon and Gemini. Anybody who has Gemini placements, rising, sun, moon, will go through big changes. And if any of those placements in Gemini rule the second house, then things that have to do with your second house will also change because the ruler is being activated. So there's several of you watching. If you are not a subscriber to the channel, subscribe so that I could answer your questions. And I'm going to drop some links here in the chat for those that may not have easy access to it. That right there is for my Earn by Design course that goes into much more into the second house. And that is the waitlist for my upcoming new membership for business solopreneurs that are wanting to hack their business growth with business astrology. And I'm going to be announcing a Better Than Black Friday sale November 4th through the 6th for to get on as a lifetime member for this particular membership. It'll be $297. This is the only time I'll ever offer this. The reviews so far have been absolutely outstanding. People who are testing it are solopreneurs themselves. They're using it to understand the makings of how to use astrology to define your brand, define your audience, define your offers, your timing. And yes, there'll be all kinds of tools and resources, templates, community as part of that journey. And then if you're like, nah, I'm not in that space, I'd rather like talk to you about my personal growth, then consider joining my other membership, which is the Unveiled Path Circle. This is where I geek out even further with astrology. um, I would say that Unveiled Path Circle will be like the total geek of the astrological place where I'll explore astrology like in many different ways, whereas the business piece will only be business. All right, so someone said your outer planets are Uranus and Neptune, both in Sagittarius and Pluto in Libra. Awesome. Yeah, I have Uranus in Libra, and I have Neptune in Sagittarius, Pluto in Virgo. So here's a hint, folks. The three outer planets are called generational planets for the most part. Why? Because they last such a long time in a sign. So Pluto is one of the biggest one. Okay. Pluto's transit through a sign is very long. So people who have Pluto in Virgo, late degrees of Pluto in Virgo retrograde, and or just forward, and then Pluto in Libra tend to be the Gen Xers. And then you can follow it all the way through, and you can see those who are being born right now, Pluto in Aquarius. I have no idea. Like, do we have a term for those who, for this current generation beyond the Gen Z, like the wee babies? I don't know if there's been a term coined for them yet. And thank you, Karen. Thank you. Yes. Thank you for sharing that. Clarity Lab is absolutely amazing. I'm calling big dreams for that. I have big visions. I want to build a network of heart-led solopreneurs where we can actually collaborate together. Once we get like all the things in place, there's so much we can do together to bring change, and that's what Aquarius is about. Yeah, big hint. Aquarius is about working with the community and building bridges for us to transform. So Pluto is here to show us how we can do this, and may we harness the highest vibration possible of the planetary energies and signs. Oh, Gen Alpha. Okay. Thank you. I didn't know that. Cosmic babies. I love it. Yeah. Yeah, there's so much changing in the world right now, and looking at those 3 places, Neptune and Sagittarius. I also have Neptune and Sagittarius, and I'm a Gen Xer. I would say Neptune's transit's about 10 to 12, 14 years, I think it is. I always get these wrong sometimes. Um, and Uranus is about 7, 8 years. Uh, yeah. Yeah, and so these signatures right now, this particular generation that's being born is fascinating because they are getting some very interesting signatures. For example, when so right here, Pluto is at 1 degrees of Aquarius, and then Uranus is at 0 degrees of Gemini. What element is that, people? Can anybody tell me? Gemini and Aquarius. I'm playing the what's that song that plays in the guessing games? Air. Exactly. And when you learn your elements and your relationships within the elements, you know that all the signs that sit within one element are supportive. They are in a trine. Bam. e- at an exact trine, 1 degree separation. They were recently at 0 degrees. This means that these people being born today and us being influenced by this energy have this flow between the Plutonian transformation and the chaos maker of Uranus in the realm of the community of social networks of humanity, and then Gemini, the teaching, the learning, the mind. So these could be like some really amazing scientists coming forth, individuals that are committed to transformation through technologies. So yeah, this is you have the trine of air. Have to see that. Yeah, that's learn the elements, folks. Start with that. Learn the modalities, and then you're gonna see like, oh, okay. So I have something here that is Earth. This one's also over here on the other sun that is Earth, and I also have something over here that's Earth. Are they all the same number? How far apart are they by number? That's the aspect. And the further apart they are by number, say one is at 0 and the other is at 12, that's not necessarily a trine. That would be a wide, very wide aspect. But that doesn't mean that it doesn't exist in the transits, because one will activate eventually, will like hit one, and then boom, then the other one will get activated, and it's a story. So use the lunations, friends. Use the new moon, the full moons, that cycle that goes through your chart to understand your planetary placements, and just track these things. I just recently had a huge mental activation, uh, excavation, shadow that appeared in my life. Um, uh, there are changes that I need to make within myself, but I have been projecting as an external. I have been emotionally detaching Aquarius because I have Mars in Aquarius. This is the signature of my Mars in connection with Jupiter in Scorpio. And what just went over that area in my chart? Mercury, the mind. And so I didn't really pay that much attention until it showed up, where I got really angry. Okay. My Mars and Jupiter are in a square, and my Mars in a fixed sign. So when I get angry, it's hard for me to let it go. But Mercury being in Scorpio or having transited that area, it helps us to look at our shadow or look at like the stuff that needs revealing. And now that we're in the space of retrograding soon, what happens when Mercury retrogrades? It slows down. So our thinking process slow down. and that I could see the themes that are here for me to unearth and face in the space of being vulnerable, of sharing my own transformation that happens so that you all can see that. That's what is showing up. That's what's like loud in my chart, and I am resisting it because it's hard to be vulnerable online. Putting yourself out there where people are like so easy to cut you down like you are not human is brutal, brutal. And my Mars is in a space that doesn't want to be visible. It's in a hidden space. So I have to work really hard to like be here. It may seem easy to you, but this is a change that I'm trying to do for myself. So it's a lot to share. Thank you all for coming. I didn't get any questions, so I'm assuming you're set. Yeah, do watch from the beginning, Karen. I think some of this will definitely click as you get into the course, um, and start using some of the timing tools that I have coming for members, and you know, oh, you're on lunch break. Oh, thank you for joining, for being on lunch break. I so appreciate it. Yeah, I feel blessed. So, lurkers who are out there, thank you for being here. I hope that this has been useful for you, and that you take the initiative to understand what planets are navigating your second or eighth house at this time, if any. And if none are navigating it at this time, look to see when they will be and prepare, right? Don't just hope for things to change in life. Use these cosmic waves and opportunities to, like do like I'm doing, exposing my shit in all kinds of ways. Yesterday, I did a long meditation, pulled out all my magical tools, all my oils, and did this like cleansing bath. And on the second, I intend to do a ritual dance to do more. So, it's like, use your materials, whether that's meditation, conversation, having a to do list. Get ready. Get ready. Do I use an ephemeris, and how do you know when to look? That's a great question, Karen. Thank you. So, I do have an ephemeris. I showed you the Luna, which is $7 a month, or 55 or $59 a year. It's a way more beautiful version of Astro.com, but you don't have to spend money. Astro.com has a free ephemeris. And basically, what it looks like is like this. Okay? This is timetables. And what this timetable does, and what you can also get through a PDF, and it basically looks just like this, it will say, and I'm happy to do a quick, like, another video for you guys on this. Let me know in the chat if you do, because I'd be happy to, okay? But basically, what it says for every single month, this is every month, every day within that month, where every planet is by day, by degree. But you need to know what houses are what, right? You need to know, like, okay, well, October 2018, 2018, 2018, the year of 2018. On October 1st, the sun was at 7 degrees of Libra. Well, for me, that would be my 8th house. At 7 degrees, that means that it was 1 degree away from Uranus, my placement. 2018, 'cause I have tracked my transits now for almost 10 years. So 2018 is when, right before things started to change with my relationship with my old life, which was being in the startup tech world, all that crazy, and soon after that, I manifested myself getting laid off because I had literally had been saying, "I can't do this anymore, I can't do this anymore, I can't do this anymore," and boom, there you go, and the 8th house being other people's monies was no longer available to me. I love it. So, yeah, you look to see where each of the planets are, and that's how you would plan ahead of time because this is 50 years. This costs I bought this one used because I'm like that. I manifest things like this all the time when I need it, and so I paid $10 for this at a bookstore. Um, they're out there. Get yourself one. Get familiar with it. I'm happy to like do a video to walk through how you read it line by line. Astro.com offers the same thing on their website as a PDF year by year. Luna Astrology does it in a digital like dashboard that you can also download. There's also the chart form that I was just looking at, right? Where I could see where each planet was through the signs. So those are two ways of looking at it, and they each have their purposes. I'm old school. I love physical object items in my hands to be able to flip back and forth. The majority of my astrological books are paper form. I don't think paper is ever going to die. So that's why I have this. I also have the digital version because I want to run charts. It's a different way of looking at it. It's almost like a 3D, 2D level versus a flat level, if that makes any sense. All right, I will do the video. I will definitely do the video. Yeah. And for, like I said, there are freebies that I have out there on my website that will give you a template to track a transit, but you still need the data. Now, for those that are coming on to the Cosmic Clarity Lab and the Unveiled Path, the annual members or founding members will get access to some of this information through Google Calendar, for example. So let me show you that. So you'll get access to this Google Calendar that will basically tell you all the major transits for the year. It's not by degree because then otherwise this thing would be absolutely insane. Yeah, you can definitely, yeah, if you know, so Karen says, I'm thinking that if you know how long each transit takes, you could estimate when it will be in a certain space and then start looking ahead in ephemeris. Yes, that is what happens because you know the sun takes about 30 days. You know that the moon does that within a month, right? It goes through in a month. The sun, Venus takes longer. Sorry, no. The sun takes longer than 30 days. In a year's time, it covers the wheel. In 1 month, it covers one sign. and the Venus does it a little bit faster, a little bit slower than Mercury. Mercury goes faster than goes a little bit slower than the moon, than Venus in terms of its slowness, and so on and so forth. So the planets go either very fast or very slow, moon being the slowest. I have a cheat sheet out there in terms of how long each of the transits are. And the ephemeris will tell you, and you can just pin it down by degree. That's where the degree piece is to then figure out when things are going to get hot. Think of the kettle on your stove. You turn it on, and at first it's cold. So that's the planet starting to really activate the theme, but not necessarily where perhaps your planet may be. And as it gets closer and closer and closer, it gets hotter and hotter and hotter and hotter and hotter, degree by degree by degree, conjunction. And it's same with whether that's a trine, a square, an opposition. The closer it comes into that number, the hotter it becomes, the more active it is. It's why things like people timing their marriages. It's why people time the creation of businesses. They're timing it specifically to that degree. All right, well, I've got a long day ahead of me. I'm going to create this video right now, and I'm going to post it on the YouTubes. And join me next week. My friend Carla Jane and I are going to be on YouTube Live again on Saturday at 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time, and this will be talking about the weirdo, okay? We all have weird. We all need to figure out what our weird is so that we may magnetize the people that are meant for us. And I'll talk about Uranus, I'll talk about Aquarius, and Carla Jane will come at it from a completely different perspective, which is more metaphysical tarot. And while, yes, they'll be much more layered in from a business perspective, what I'm sharing applies to everybody. Okay. I don't care that you're not out there doing, having your own business. You're still interacting with humans. And the faster you get to claim your authentic self, the happier you will be. And yeah, I will see you next time. And you'll see a video here. And if you're on my email list, you're going to get notified. So do that. Subscribe, like, get notified, do all the things you need to do so that you'll learn when I am next online. Thank you, friends. Have a wonderful Jupiterian Thursday. Write down what you're grateful for, call in your biggest dreams, and I'll see you next time. Bye.